Today's guest is a mystical Eros and shadow integration priestess, founder of Divinely Untamed. Jess Ashby, welcome to Voices of Elevate.
Hey, thank you. Hello,
So
hello.
lovely to have you on here. Now, last year, I met you because you attended Elevate with your partner, Adam Slawson,
Hmm.
and the two of you are coming back. And you're
Yes,
get
we are.
and he ran his Plight Club workshop last year, but you're joining us this year, and you've offered your workshop. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, about the workshop. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the workshop I'm bringing to Elevate this summer is called Alchemising Power, and we're going to be looking at power dynamics. So I'm now the founder of Divinely Untamed, which is a temple night. So it's a sex positive space that really invites people to show up as authentically, as genuinely as possible, and to allow Eros, our life force energy, the erotic energy that we all have, to move through us, and to also, to move through us, to move us towards each other, but also to allow things to move within, so things that might be in the shadow. And so this can bring a lot of old wounds or conditioning to the surface. But my background was in international relation and sustainable development and things like this. So I've worked a lot with power dynamics, and I've always been really fascinated by this. And so in sex positive spaces, we see a lot of power dynamics, and obviously safety is such a big deal and it's so important. And it comes from within a lot of the time, right? And so alchemizing power, it's a workshop that's going to invite people to really look at the power dynamics in themselves, around them, in their relationships. There is power in all relationships, right? There is no relationship that doesn't have any power dynamics, within. And so to become aware of where the power is, where you have power, where you don't have power, and to learn to lead rather than dominate and control, and learn to yield and surrender rather than collapse and shrink, right? So that's
Mm.
going to be the practice in this workshop. It's going to be to really get to understand that actually, even though sometimes I might feel powerless, I have power because of maybe my age, my background, my financial status, the way I look, right? Beauty, right? Like all of these things give me power, but maybe other people will have more power because they'll be, because of their age, their statuses, their finances, whatever it is that gives power, their gender, right? But I this workshop that I do quite a lot is to really invite people to see where I have the power and how can I use it in a way that's healthy, and where I don't, and to, instead of fighting against trying to have it or to like call it out and to blame other people for my feeling of not being empowered, to actually shift it around and just yield and just be like, okay, I'm open to just trusting the flow and trusting a leader and surrendering to what is and what comes through. And I
Mm.
know that I have the power to say no, or to, to do differently. So that's what it's going to be about in a nutshell.
So it kind of encourages you to have more healthy relationships where there's a balance of having power and kind of, what did you use instead of the word surrender? Because
Yield.
surrender almost feels yield. Because
Yield.
surrender almost feels like, okay, I'll do what you say.
Mm.
Um, but yield, I like that. I haven't heard it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But but also that's a really healthy way of just learning how to navigate the whole world, not just your
Yes,
relationship,
exactly.
isn't it?
Totally.
Know where you've got power, and you can really extend that in other areas of your life, can't you?
Yes, 100%. And that's why I think that temple work, which is what I do most, is so powerful. It's because the work that we do in the temple spaces, in the sacred sexuality spaces, it ripples out. And so the people that have been coming to temples regularly, what they're saying is not only that, oh, they have better relationships, they feel more magnetic, all of these things that are amazing. A lot of the time they manage their in-laws better, or their
Yeah.
bosses, or these dynamics that they've really struggled with, and they shrunk, and they show up in a different way because to become aware of our patterns and our defaults, the conditioning, and that how we show up most of the time in a temple. It's quite confronting because there's a lot of vulnerability in these spaces. So if you manage to do this in a temple, then with the in-laws, you can speak your truth. Yeah, you can speak your truth. And when you speak your truth and somebody kind of shuts it down or says like, well, we're not going to do it this way, then you can also say like, okay, I'm just going to allow it, and I'm going to yield. I'm going to surrender to what is, and just allow things. I've spoken my truth now. I've expressed myself. I've not people pleased. I've not tried to keep, the peace between the family unit or whatever. So I've said my piece, and now I'm going to go. And so now when they're taking control, or when they're dominating, if that's what they do, I don't feel as resentful because I've spoken, they heard, now that's their choice. And to allow it, and to not fight against things that you have no control over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so the word sexual is in there, and that could already trigger people and prevent them from even wanting to enter your workshop. So can we speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, so first of all, the workshop is going to be non-sexual. It's not a sexual space. So the practices that we're going to have are going to be platonic, but that doesn't mean there is no charge. For me, all the spaces that I hold, they all include Eros. Eros is the life force energy, erotic energy, right? But Eros is so much more than sex. It's life force, it's our creativity, birthing ideas and babies and all sorts of things, right? So it doesn't have to be sexual, but there's always Eros, right? And to say that, to not let it in is almost bypassing it, right? And you're actually more at risk if you're bypassing, or if you're ignoring it, because you're keeping it in the shadow. And if it's in the shadow, that's where it can hurt. So my spaces always will welcome Eros, and we look at it. And even if we're not going to act on it, we're going to learn how to hold it. So if there is a charge that gets built, so for example, in this workshop, we'll probably I think there's no workshop I do without have some element of eye gazing. So we'll all eye gaze at some point, right? And if there's a charge that starts to build, if there's something between you and the person that you're eye gazing, then we get to name it. Not necessarily verbally, but we get to like, oh, okay, there's something there. And how do I feel about this? How is that making me feel? Do I have some conditioning around like, oh shit, this is wrong, I shouldn't feel that way? Or, oh my God, my partner is over there, like, what does that mean? Or whatever. Or are they going to feel like I'm unsafe or predatory, right? There's a lot of things that men can, we hear from men a lot these days, right? So is to name it, to see that it's there. And I'll always bring it up in the conversation as people navigate the practices. And we're gonna just acknowledge it and learn to grow our capacity for it, whether it's in the shame of it and the fear of it, holding our capacity to hold the like, okay, yeah, this is triggering me a little bit, but I'm going to sit with it for a moment. I'm going to breathe through, and I'm going to regulate in whatever ways that I know how to do this. And if it's about like, oh my God, like I'm so turned on, it's like, okay, and how can you use this arousal and transmute it into something that you can, bring some beauty into that space, whether by giving somebody a compliment that is genuine, or whether it's by moving, or whatever it is. So it's there in a non-sexual way.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love it, because I feel like there's so much taboo around, oh, I'm feeling something. Or sometimes you can be feeling that feeling of connection, deep connections, particularly in these kind of more alternative spaces where we are feeling like brothers and sisters and more connected. And, and sometimes you can be looking at each other's eyes and really loving that person. And then sometimes you're like, well, it's a guy. So, I'm attracted to men. So am I attracted to this person, or is this just a kind of sibling relationship, And I've had that a few times, and then it's been like, actually, no, we are just friends, but I just really love this person, and you don't have to take it to that kind of sex zone. It's just, but it's a feeling that you feel. And I feel that towards women as well. And then you can be confused at thinking, well, it's because I want to have, maybe that's what I'm doing. But equally not having shame, even if it is that, so it's exactly. Just, it's giving more space to, these natural feelings that we never give often. I'm not saying we never do, because in spaces we might do, but as a whole society, probably don't. And there still is a lot of taboo, and it's black and white. It's like sex, friendship, like everything's like that. Whereas actually to really get to know yourself on that deeper level and share those kind of connections and just really explore that deeply, I can see the magic in that. Yeah.
Totally. And I would say, when there is a charge, whether it's with a friend or a stranger, it's really beautiful to be able to learn to call it out, to say it, like, oh, I'm feeling something here. And when there's a lot, I don't know if you're familiar with the term like leaky energy. When we speak of people that have leaky energy, generally it really just comes from not having admitted or acknowledged or named something that is there that we can all feel, but because we're too embarrassed or scared of rejection or whatever, we're married or there's something and like it's wrong, we don't speak it, but it's still there. And generally by speaking it out, it goes away.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It just goes away. So to have a moment of eye gazing at a festival and really vibing, and then having this like, wow, like I can feel this in my body. Like, oh, I feel quite activated. If you say it and they respond without shaming, without like, oh, without fear, and just be like, oh, okay, cool, then you don't know where that's going to take you. Maybe there's something beautiful that can be created, or maybe it's just a naming and then it goes away, it dissipates. And the more you practice doing this and being in these spaces, the more you realize that actually what you feel in your body has really nothing to do with the person in front of you. It really is yours, it
Yeah.
really is your own shit, right? Whether it's beautiful or negative, like
Yeah.
whether it's painful or whatever, like it's your thing that is coming up.
So
So yeah.
I used to have this thing where I would fall in love so easily because I'd kind of have sex with a person. I'd be like, oh, but I love you now. That's it. I felt this feeling. It must be you. And then I realized after me and my long-term relationship broke up, and I was just kind of needing some, what's the word? Validation. And I was just kind of hanging out with different guys for a little while. And I thought, oh, I'm actually getting this feeling regardless of who it is, even if I don't love them. Oh, I see. So this is just
This
oxytocin.
is me. This is me. This is mine. This is my
This
oxytocin.
is
Exactly.
me.
Exactly.
It gave me so much power in those spaces. I was like, oh, this is all me.
It's so liberating when you know that
Yeah,
actually this feeling, you don't need to chase anyone else to have it. You can
yeah,
actually create it from within. And there's nothing that special about the person in front of you,
yeah,
aka they are replaceable, like they have, everybody has, their own God seed in them. And
yeah.
it's beautiful that you get to see it. But ultimately it's all the same, right? Like it's the same energy that you can find in other connections. And so that's helped me a lot to not completely fall apart after relationships break down, like because it's like, oh, I'll never find somebody like this. It's like, actually
I'm
you
actually worried
will,
that I'm never fall in love again, because I'm like, oh, I
exactly.
used to fall in love really easily, and now I don't, because I'm like, well, actually, it's take it or leave it. Like this is, I can
And it's a
experience this.
practice, I'm not going
Yeah.
to say that it's like that easy for me. Like I still have fear of like a relationship breaking or things, people like separating from some people. And there are some people with whom you have really beautiful connections, and that is sad. And there is loss and grief around,
Yeah.
the end or the shifts in these different dynamics or partnerships. But this thing that we feel within is ours, and that's really liberating.
And actually, not only is it liberating, but it can, you don't give all your power away to that one person, do you? And it's just, I think it encourages you to make healthier choices.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Now I've got my tick list. Yeah, you're making me feel that feeling, but like, do you tick all of these boxes?
Exactly. And that's maturity, right? Like as we get older and we're like, actually, like I'm done with that. I'm not here for the chase. I'm not here to play, I want something that has more depth and
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So how did you find yourself going in this direction?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do long story short, I guess. I've had a whole journey of pretty shit relationships, to be honest, really awful, kind of toxic, sometimes abusive, and experienced sexual assault, experienced a lot of, yeah, just had no self-worth, had never really felt self-love either until my late 20s, from sitting with plant medicine for the first time, I finally felt self-love. But before that, I really always sought validation outside of me. I felt completely powerless. And as I mentioned, I was studying international relations and international development, and I was always going to go in for the underdog because I felt so powerless, and I just felt like, this my mission was to kind of rid the world of these, power hungry people that are wrecking it for everybody, and blah blah blah, and like very much in my victim, very very much in my victim. And so I attracted, and I can see this clearly now, that I've attracted all of these experiences to me. Not saying that I'm blaming myself, but in many ways my energy was screaming like, nobody is worth trusting, nobody has pure heart. And so all of my partnerships reflected that, right? And I was very much, stuck in a victim cycle for a long time. And eventually I kind of started to, I thought I was claiming my power back, and I started to reclaim my sexuality and explore the sex parties of, different scenes in Canada, where I'm from, London, and abroad, and just kind of traveling a lot, and just discovering a bit more of myself every time I flew myself to a place where nobody knew me. I could kind of find a part of me that I didn't really know, or didn't allow out, at that point. So I did a lot of that, a lot of exploration, and some of it was really positive. Some of it really kind of unlocked parts of me that gave me, or reactivated some of my power, and other experiences were actually making it worse, and so I really through this exploration, I basically eventually found temple spaces. I landed in a temple night. I had no idea what that was. I just knew that it would probably be quite sexy, and that maybe it would be a bit confronting and triggering, but I was like, oh, but I'm fine, because I've been to like sex parties and whatnot. And it shifted so much for me, because a temple space, first of all, is a sober space. So there's no alcohol to escape. There's no drugs to escape. There's no, it's very conscious. You're very present. And it's all about presence and authenticity and meeting self and each other, and really accepting everybody in that space as a mirror to your own wounds, to your own self. And that is true for all spaces. But in temple spaces, that's definitely something that we talk about, and we enter the space with this awareness, rather than it being the case, but it's kind of not necessarily mainstream, right? And so I had that experience in that temple, and I was single at the time, but with Adam, actually, who was there as a friend slash kind of early lover. We were just kind of starting to be with each other, but we weren't attached to each other. And at some point we had 5 minutes or something like this to be with one person that was chosen by spirit, the person that you end up being in front of. You got to make a request, and they got to fulfill it if they wanted to fulfill it. And at that point, I was faced with, a man that I didn't know. I didn't really feel anything for him. I didn't really like his vibe that much. And I wasn't ready for touch. I wasn't ready for play. I wasn't ready for anything like this. But I thought, okay, I'll have him bow at my feet for 5 minutes. And he bowed at my feet for 5 minutes. I asked him, would you be willing to do this? And he's like, yeah, of course, And he bowed at my feet, not in submission, but in devotion, like worshiping and honoring all that I am, all that I've been, all that I will ever be, and that's obviously that's nonverbal, but I could feel my energy get bigger. And like, I'm a 5'3" woman, right? Like, I feel like everybody is bigger than me. And so to feel like tall and have somebody at my feet, like like their hands on my feet and his head on the floor, and I just felt like this fucking giant goddess that felt so empowered by this act. And in that moment, I remember raising my standards. I will never, and I say this to all of the people that come to my temples, I will never engage in intimacy with someone who isn't willing to bow at my feet in devotion,
Mm.
right? And that shifted everything for me. Not automatically, you know, I still had moments of like, you know, push pull of, you know, old dynamics, and I'm still navigating so many things, right? Like, I don't think it ever ends. But I remember that in that moment, the queen activated, you know, the priestess activated. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be a girl anymore. I don't want to be a maiden even anymore. I want to embrace my woman. I want to embrace my flawed woman that ages, that is ugly sometimes. I want to honor, like, I only want to connect with people, or I only want to open my heart to the people that will welcome my beauty and my ugly, and will bow in devotion, and that I will bow in devotion at their feet as well. And it
Mm.
really, yeah, it raised the standards and it changes everything. And I didn't go into holding my own spaces right away. I did a lot of work around this. I had some mentors, I did some training, some workshops, some retreats and all of that. And eventually had this sort of download or vision. And I was like, I must hold a space that really invites Eros and in a way that is soothing for the nervous system. I don't believe in safe spaces. I think there are safer spaces because we're aware, but ultimately it's for us to create this. And we're humans, and in these spaces mistakes can happen and we can screw up, and the safety comes in being able to actually hold the mistakes, hold the moments of discomfort, and learn and not do it again, or do it better next time. And so that's what I now do monthly. And every month there's like 40 people that come, and we just do this and go deeper every time. And it's just so, so beautiful.
And I love it as well because, you know, with the whole ethos of Elevate is all about,
Mm,
like, you know, what new earth do we want to create
yeah.
together? You know, and to have healthy relationships and to have a healthy sexuality and to feel us all be as powerful as each other. Wow, what would we all create then? You know, it's such
Yeah.
an important piece of the jigsaw,
And then
moving
we all
forward.
come from there, you know, like every single one of us is here because two people made love, you know, or two people had sex most of the time with pleasure and with desire, at least in that moment, right?
Mm,
And it's true that it's not the case for all the time. And yes, there is so much shadow around sexuality, but that's the
mm,
point of these spaces, because it's so taboo. And we know that it can be unsafe. Like, I mean, I don't know, like there is no woman around me that has not, that doesn't
oh,
have a story of sexual abuse. Like, I don't know anyone, you know,
more
sadly.
than one
Oh,
each.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? And so we know of this, and yet we go home with people we met after the third date, and then we call that safe, right? But then we go home with like, shit, like, did I actually want this? And like, what, I didn't say no though, but why does it feel so off? And you know, in temple we really unpack all of this, and we really start looking at each other, women and men and everyone in between and beyond, you know, all genders. We come together, and it's like, actually, there, I play a part in making this safe, and I play
Mm,
a part in making it safe for me. We all have responsibility to take there, and my no is really important. And
mm,
my energy, you know, to tune in into somebody's like, well, you're saying yes, but actually, are you really a yes? Because I can feel you're a bit checked out right now. Like,
mm,
anyone saying this to somebody is like, oh my God, thank you so much. Yes, you're right. I've actually come out of my body a bit. I've been a bit like in my head or stuck or whatever. And so it's all things, it's all skills that we need to learn to make this safer. And it's actually safer when you're in a room of 40 people that know about this shit than
mm,
when you go home with a stranger after 3 dates,
mm.
you know. So
Yeah.
it's the
And well, society doesn't support this, does it? And it's the same with with a lot of the things in that we're trying to promote, like the food.
yeah,
You know, society doesn't support that, but the
yeah,
sexuality, society does not support healthy sexuality. You've only got to watch Netflix, music videos. You know, there's so much. There's so much unhealthy. Yeah, it's just and you know, yeah, there's just so much in our society where it's unhealthy,
yeah,
and it almost sort of leans on the side of demonic,
Yeah,
Whereas, and
yeah,
I think that can put a lot of people off in the spiritual realms
100%. Yeah.
because they're, they're thinking, oh, what's so there's so much to speak on this subject.
There's so much. And like what is represented in the media and films, like you just said, in music and whatever, it's quite distorted, right? It's quite, and the power dynamic is quite wild there, right? Like there's a lot of, yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah.
And my Instagram, I have to be really fucking careful not to post things that are too obvious, even though I'm talking about divine union and like sacred sensuality and, you know, embodiment and, honoring your boundaries and blah, blah, because I get censored, I get banned. And
Mm.
so we're seeing all of this distorted sexuality and we're not allowed to show the beauty of
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so in spiritual settings, a lot of the work is like the emphasis is on the higher chakras, right? Like from, generally from the heart, sometimes maybe from the solar
Mm.
plexus, but from the heart to the crown.
Mm.
And but we are physical beings. We are
Mm.
animals, we have urges, we have desires. And so
Mm.
if we only look at the higher chakras and we only work on those, practice meditation, sit, and be celibate for a few years, that's all beautiful. But if
Mm.
you're denying yourself of the
Mm.
pleasure of the body, the pleasure of the flesh, and it's Taurus season right now, right? It's all about that. If we're denying this to ourselves, it's going to
Mm.
be in the shadow, and again it's going to come out. And so we
Mm.
really need to allow it out in safe environments. And more it's becoming a thing, but it's still very out of the mainstream. It's still very much its own bubble. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, no, what I was just thinking about, yeah, just I don't know, that thread went. I was following what you
Yeah.
were saying, but I also had like the next piece, and then I was really intent on what you were saying. I was like, oh, I've forgotten the next
It'll come
piece.
back. It'll come
It'll
back.
come back if it's meant to. But
Mm.
yeah, it's so fascinating and it's so interesting. But also, in our kind of more alternative scenes, there's so much around celibacy
Mm-hmm.
and staying pure and all of that stuff, which I can find quite confusing because I actually find that I'm at my highest vibration in my full creativity, I'm at my best when I've had sex. Like I just
Yeah, yeah.
am.
Thank
Like
you. Yeah.
and then so I'm just like thriving in this energy, and
Yeah.
if I refrain from that, which I have recently because I've had a bit of a health issue that's got in the way, um
Mm.
if you refrain from that, I actually feel sort of my energy is a bit dull, like I haven't
Mm.
got this fire lit up for life and creativity. So maybe there's a whole celibate. I mean, I think it's maybe useful to be celibate for a short period to kind of find yourself or whatever, and so that you're not being, it's not ruling you
Yeah.
to make bad choices. Um, but and maybe men could practice it because they're the ones who tend to be governed by these desires. But then is that a bad thing? Or and I think in the spiritual world right now, that again, we've got in the mainstream world, it's just like taboo and unhealthy sex everywhere.
Mhm.
And then in the spiritual realms, they're saying, no, you shouldn't have sex with anyone unless it's in a very loving relationship. And that confuses me because in my own experience, I'm experiencing something else. So, yeah, I'd like to hear what
Yeah.
you say on that.
There's a few things that you said there that are bringing things up for me, right? So, for example, you said pure, right? Purity, and this idea that actually
Yes.
purity
Mm,
is this, we're going to eye gaze and we're going to have this moment of like no touch and connect, and that's so pure. But actually, I want to bring, I want to shift this, like I want to break that actually
yeah.
to,
That's the
even
taboo
in
right there, isn't it?
tantra, even in sacred sexuality, I don't think that eye gazing is purer than a good fuck. Like
Mm,
you can put an intention to anything that you do,
mm,
and that's what makes it pure. So if you're, like there's no, like messy period sex and whatnot, like that's so, it can be so powerful, it can be so beautiful. Like to me, like to say that I was in a situation once. I was at ISTA, actually. I don't know if you're familiar with ISTA, which is the International School of Temple Arts. It's beautiful training. I had a really beautiful experience being there, but it's a bit controversial because of some things that happened there that I'm not going to get into. But I was in a sort of foursome, you know, we were just kind of connecting four people, and it was quite erotic, and it was quite um the energy, like it was really kind of juicy, getting juicy. And the day after, we kind of checked in, and what came up for some people were, oh, I wish we had maintained eye contact throughout, you know, to keep it sacred. And that's a beautiful desire to have. That's a complete genuine desire to have. And I'm not going to slut shame myself or another person for desiring something that doesn't involve eye gazing, that doesn't involve, you know, chanting mantras as we're, you know, going down on each other. Like whatever is true for you in the moment, to own it and to make that request and to have your boundaries is what makes it a really divine connection to me, right? Like it's to bring the flesh and to bring the divine. And that doesn't exclude any practice that is consensual and desired. So that's one thing. And the other thing, you know, when you're speaking of like celibacy and wrong choices, I think that everybody has their own experiences. I think celibacy, if this is calling somebody, oh my
Yeah.
God, fuck it, go for it, you know, do it. It's not something that I would force on anybody. And I'm going to say something that's maybe a bit controversial. And I only say this because I've experienced sexual assault. And to me, the bad experiences, the bad choices, they've been so formative.
Yeah.
I don't wish them on anyone. And also, the reason why I'm doing what I do today, the reason why I have the life that I've created, that, you know, I'm fucking like, there is so much beauty and freedom and like emotions and amazement in my life right now. And I only could get to where I am because I've experienced something really traumatic, and I've done loads of therapy and coaching and been mentored and went into my own shadow, went into the underworld. I'm a Scorpio moon. I don't know if you speak astrology, but I'm a queen of the
Yeah.
underworld. Like I spend a lot of time in the underworld, and in
Yeah.
the underworld is quite confronting, and it can be a bit scary. And for some people, like there's a fear to go there because like, what if I don't come out? But actually, when you're there, you can really look at your shit, look at your wounds. And plant medicine has really helped me do that as well. Really find that forgiveness for myself for giving into this, you know, for having this experience, and forgiveness to the person that caused it, and see
Which is
where
the
I was
biggest. Yeah.
responsible. Yeah. And these moments, you know, when you rewrite the narrative, when you reframe the story, it's actually where I find most of my power. So I'm not saying like, oh, it's okay, you know, all these like, you know, freaking rape academy and all of these awful things that
Oh
we
my
see in the
God.
news.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is not okay, of course. And we need to call it out, and we need people to freaking like, you know, become so aware of it. And like, we need men to call out other men
There's a
to just,
symptom of
you know,
unhealthy sexuality in this world.
exactly.
You know?
But all of the things, like, I really believe that I can serve, like, if I don't die, I can recover from anything that happens to me. And
Yeah.
if I don't die, I will be stronger after it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so, allowing people to have their experiences and not trying to overly protect ourselves from possibly getting hurt, because often the hurt is what cracks our hearts open, you know, and what allows us to actually be our full selves. So
And
yeah.
also, we're not completely divine. We're here having a human experience.
Mm-mm.
It's all here
Yeah.
for a reason, you know, and we need to be exploring it. We can keep ourselves hidden away in our little meditation corner all of our life, stopping ourselves experiencing anything, or we can have experiences. And I resonated so much with what you said, because I've had such a past myself, and it's the wounded healers, right? And
Exactly. Yeah.
and I actually explored, not to the extent that you have, but in my own way. You know, I've had my own journey with it, and that's how I everything you've spoken about so far is just completely resonant. I know you're on point because it's what my own experiences have shown me as well, you know.
And
And
other people will have different experiences, right? So
yeah,
I'm not speaking for all experiences, but I think there is truth in, the strength of coming out of something that's been really painful. The
mm,
strongest people I know have had the most terrible experiences in their childhood and their past. And it's those who show the strength and power today is because they've made friends with that part of themselves. They've
yeah.
not, they've come out a victim, which I still go back in sometimes, like, oh, why does it
Oh, yeah.
always happen to me? And
You know
sometimes,
you're in it when you're in it, don't you? That's the difference.
exactly.
Sometimes you just go, I just need to be a victim for a few hours.
Exactly. I
Just,
just need to vent.
need to feel
And
sorry for myself for a minute. Okay,
exactly.
right now I'm done. Brush myself down, back to being strong, badass bitch again.
Yeah. And to get to the point where you can actually be grateful for all the shit that's happened, and that's when, like, you're unstoppable,
Yeah.
like that's when you become invincible.
And I've started calling it the conscious loving universe, which we've got some
Mm,
people coming to speak on the trust frequency at Elevate, and they call it the conscious loving universe because they said it is conscious and it is loving. So
yeah.
even these terrible, terrible things that have happened to us, it's for our greater good. It's for our
Yeah.
highest timeline. And when you realize the power, and you trust that, it kind of helps one to just not be holding on as a victim to the things that have happened,
Yeah.
but also as things are unfolding you think, well, this is pretty shit, but there must be a reason for it. and
Mm.
and then it just helps you kind of navigate life knowing that every time things are happening, you're gonna be better for it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. That sounds beautiful, actually. I look forward to meeting with these people at
Yeah,
Elevate. It's going to be really
they're
nice.
from America, actually.
Right.
They're coming over, yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah, they're really interesting, Connie and
I'm sure.
Andrew. Really, really, they're in their 80s. It's just like
Oh,
amazing.
beautiful. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Love
like
that.
he knew Ram Dass and Tim Leary
Mm.
and stuff like that scene.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that's beautiful. I really love bringing energy, like, yeah, the energy of elders, people that actually have experience, the
Yeah.
people that have, lived a full life. And I was just actually at Torture Garden recently. I don't know if you're familiar with that space. It's a sex party, it's a play party, it's a very much unconscious, debauchery kind of thing, but it's beautiful. And like dressing up is, I love dressing up. I love, the
Yeah.
dancing. And to me, the freedom of expression is there's not many places where you can really be your full sensual sexual self, and you don't have to engage sexually, but it's just a space where it's allowed, and so the taboos are all out. And there's this couple that were 75 and 80 years old, respectively. And and when I spoke with the woman, I was like, how long have you two been together? And she's like, since 1965. And I'm like, oh my god. And they had been going to these parties for about 20 years. And the trust between them, and the fact that they're still partying in these spaces in their 70s and 80s is just, I want to be like her, like I want to be like them.
Yeah. Well, it's just
Yeah.
continue to live without age being a block.
Yeah,
You know.
and continuing experiencing yourself as a sexual being, even when you're in the quote unquote crone stage of life, and I think that's what, ultimately, when we speak of divine union, it can be so bypassing of that aspect. It's all about the heart and sitting in meditation together, and that's beautiful. And sexuality is such an important way to
Mm.
connect. It's so powerful. So
I,
to
I mean,
have
I don't
that.
think I could have a relationship where it wasn't there, you know? And
And sometimes it ebbs and flows and it goes, but it's important to
yeah,
be able to bring it back, and to communicate needs, and to
yeah.
explore and to free ourselves. And it's okay not to want to go to these spaces, as long as
Mm.
it's a decision that comes from your own true desire, not the conditioning that comes with these spaces are bad, right? Like
Well,
that's where.
for me, it hasn't been that those spaces are bad. For me, it's been like, oh, am I just going to be with people that are unhealthily? Like
Mhm.
I always think, like in the sort of the way that you're describing it, it sounds more inviting. But
Mm.
when before, I've always thought, oh, it's just going to be people with blocked lower chakras, with like they've got like issues.
And some people do, you know, and
Yeah.
we all do in some ways.
Yeah.
We have looked at it, and it's true that in
Yeah.
some spaces, like, you know, it's true that at Torture Garden it's rare that I'm going to meet people that I'm going to like have a real connection, right? Generally it's going to be quite surfacey, and I go with my friends and I go with the people that I actually can connect with in this way. But in
Yeah.
temple spaces, the issues, the wounds that we carry, they are welcomed, you know, that they are what fuels these experiences, because we get to
Again,
actually
that's
be
my own
seen.
trauma speaking, because the trauma that
Mm,
I had was
yeah.
related to people with where it was squashed sexuality and then perverted, and
Mm-hmm.
it's that. And so I think there's still my trauma playing out
Mm-hmm.
there, which is
For
so
sure.
interesting, because
Yeah.
you feel like you've healed it. It's not
And it's
affecting,
layers and
and there's
layers.
layers and layers, and yeah, but
Exactly.
it's
It's a
always.
journey, you know, and I think being
Mm,
aware of the journey and just being willing to be in the journey, you know, not bypass it, not escape it with substances or work or whatever, is the
mm,
beauty of it. Like I don't think I'll never be like completely healed, you know. Like I feel like
yeah.
otherwise there's no point in being in this incarnation, you know. Like I need to,
Like,
like
when
that'll
you've
be
done
the
it,
end, you know.
it's like, oh, take your last breath and that's it. Yeah,
Exactly. So I'm yeah, more and more I'm willing to just be in the messy and be in the like, ugh, this is so uncomfortable, but I know this is growth. And that doesn't mean that like it doesn't get really fucking ugly sometimes, you know, in my partnerships
mm,
or whatever. Like it's still, there's still work to do. Like I've just posted something on Instagram today or yesterday about, you know, confessing that I've actually just been, you know, I've just realized that I've been blaming my partner for my own lack of inner safety and my own taking responsibility for like me not having boundaries and me people pleasing. Still, we've been together 5 years, you know, and it's like I'm not quite 5, 4, but I'm still projecting, I'm still
you're both
leaking.
really, really conscious people. You're both space
Yeah.
holders, so, and it's really reassuring for people to know that even
Mm,
when you are two conscious people that know about triggers and shadows, and
mm-hmm.
how difficult it still is to navigate a
Yeah.
relationship.
And
Yeah,
sometimes when you're holding space for others, and we both coach people on this, you know, and so
yeah,
sometimes to me, it's through coaching a client that I'll be like, oh shit, I do the same thing, you know, oh my
yeah,
God, I've just done that, you know, I'm like,
yeah.
oh shit, okay, I gotta go, I
Can't
gotta like
always
own
be
it.
100%
Yeah.
intentional, can we? We can't always be 100% conscious in every moment and every aspect of our life, because life is busy, and our
And it's
focus will be on other
challenging.
things. And then we're like, oh, I've just been acting really
Yeah.
unconscious in my relationship. I took my eye off the ball for a second, and then
Mm-hmm.
things bring you back. And that's the thing. I think we're all imperfectly non-perfect, or whatever.
Human.
None of us, yeah, we're not robots,
Yeah,
are we? And that's
exactly.
beautiful. and
Yeah,
and it's just how we deal with it when we're not perfect. If you're just going to keep
exactly.
shoving the blame to somebody else when deep down it's you, but that's where there's real work to be done. But we're all going to just mess up from time to time, no matter how conscious and aware we are, because we're human.
Yeah, exactly. And
And it's
that's
like I
the
promote
beauty.
about the food all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
then my son had a vegan sausage roll yesterday, and I was like, let me have a bite of that.
Right.
But I'm always showing fruit on my Instagram. But like, there'll be moments where desire or the taste or one of my
Yeah.
kids is eating something, and where I'm not perfect, and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah, totally, totally. And to hold ourselves with compassion and love and like what's the point of, you know, again, like being incarnated in this body, in this life, in this moment, if we're not able to enjoy a vegan sausage roll once in a while, you know? Like it's all about the pleasure of being human. And I think
Yeah.
all, you know, in sort of moderation and also sometimes not in moderation, you know, it's like
Mm.
I think finding the balance within and finding the truth, you know, and when you do something that you shouldn't, like when you're eating something that you shouldn't, just to eat it with no
So you
guilt whatsoever,
enjoy
with
it. Yeah.
pleasure, exactly,
Yeah.
with delight. And then, you know, when you're feeding, like ultimately it comes down to where am I doing this from, love or fear? Fear of being, you know, for gaining weight, being sick, hurting somebody, blah blah blah, or love for myself, love for this enjoyment of life, or right. And we can do the same actions from either place, and the intention is what matters, right? So if I eat something from a place of self-sabotage, like, oh, I'm going to eat this because I feel bad about myself, well then,
Yes.
that's not really good. But if I do it as like, you know what, I'm treating myself, or like, I'm going to just enjoy this so much,
Yeah.
then I can do it,
Yeah. Yeah, I run food groups and I say that. I'm like, look, we're not here to be perfect. We're here to
Yeah.
like try to inspire and motivate ourselves to make really good choices and get to know ourselves spiritually through our
Mm-hmm.
diet. But if you want to have that thing, have it. I'm always like, have
Yeah.
it. Just make sure you enjoy every
Yeah.
mouthful and you're
Yeah.
eating it really consciously. Like, I
Yeah.
love this, or oh, actually, I don't love this, but it's something else is going on.
Yeah.
There's an attachment to this, or it's something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Well,
Mm,
I'm super excited for you to come and offer
me
that at
too.
Elevate, and I do see the importance of this kind of teachings and exploration for us to move into a new way of being with
Mm.
each other. I think it's so important. So well done for your work. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, my love. Thank you. And thank you for having me, because I know it's edgy and it's not welcomed in all spaces, And so I'm
Mm,
I'm glad. And also, it's not like a full temple we're hosting, right? It's going to be a very
no.
gentle workshop. It's going to be very much at looking within, and yeah, just noticing, becoming aware, and then, allowing maybe arousal to come up, or allowing the body to respond, and like really feeling what's coming up. And if there's no desire, if there's no arousal, that's fine. And if there is, that's fine. Nothing is better or worse. And it's just to be with it. So I'm really excited to do it.
I
Yeah.
hope that I'm not rushed off my feet and I can come and
Yeah,
join in.
that would
I'm
be
really
so good.
interested. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. So my events are Divinely Untamed .uk. So that's the Instagram page. And Jessica Ashby on Instagram is my personal page, where I speak most of my coaching and my own journey. And yeah, I host a temple night in London every first Saturday of the month. So on the Saturday of on the first Saturday of each month. Why can't I say this properly? Anyhow, so I host this in London, and it's really a space where, as you said, when you said something about like it can be quite intimidating, but as you heard me speak about it, it kind of softened it.
Mm,
Most of the time, people can feel quite, well, fear, ultimately around coming to these spaces. And every time I have people that actually feel quite cold but feel really nervous and scared at the beginning,
I
they
think I
come
would.
out like
Yeah.
broken open and bliss and tears of joy. Like, it's really transformative, and it's actually quite gentle, more than we think. So I do this in London, and every year I have a retreat. So coming up in July, I host a temple retreat, which it's a bit more gentle, because it gives us more time and space to like be in that energy and to integrate, and to, we get workshops and facilitators and stuff. So there's more holding. So yeah, it's really a mission of mine to make these spaces more
Mm,
accessible and more present, more in our field. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Oh well, I love it, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and, having that conversation with me.
On this, because I've actually really enjoyed it, and learned. It's actually triggered some stuff in me that I'm going
Mhm.
to go away and journal about now, which is so interesting. Um, yeah. So
Yeah,
you've
feel free to share later, if anything comes up and you want to chat. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, amazing. Oh well, thank you, and
Thank you.
I'll be putting all your details in the
Amazing.
description so people can find you there, and
Thank you so much.
we'll see you in August. Lots of
Yes, yes, can't wait. All right, goodbye.
love. Bye. There we